it's no surprise that you ended up with someone who is more on the avoidant side because that's where we usually see the attraction points.
Mm-hmm.
But again, someone who is avoidantly attached or dismissive avoidant typically comes out of a home where they experienced a fair degree of emotional neglect, or they experienced like a high degree of like enmeshment, like they had an overly involved mother, for example, that put a lot of emotional burdens on them, and made it all about themselves, right? And so what we find is that the child doesn't learn how to identify their own emotions. They don't have a safe place to communicate their emotions, and their strategy, it's a coping strategy, is they learn to just repress and push everything down and just keep marching forward. And so
Is
they
that why
become,
they feel trapped so easily
yes,
too?
that's
Yeah.
right. So the feeling of trapped is, I will never go back there again.
Mm-hmm.
So the feeling of trapped can get triggered when they feel like someone is emotionally depending on them. Because, yeah, because that would be reminiscent of perhaps a relationship that they once had. When they were younger, they were trapped.
Yeah.
Because when you're younger, you have no choice. And so subconsciously, I will never put myself in that position again. I will always maintain my independence. I'm overly self-reliant. I'm not going to ask anyone for help. I'm just going to, if I have a problem, I'm going to deal with it myself. Um,
What prevents them from verbalizing that? Like we're in a ghosting, period
mhm.
of time. And so
Yeah.
what keeps I think I'm answering my own question in my head, but what keeps them from just saying this isn't working out, I'm not interested? Why completely pull back
Okay.
or
Why,
disappear?
why do you think? Because you know the answer.
I think well, because they'd have to confront it and then it'll pull back and then there will be resistance and likely more of a lean in. And they
Right.
just don't want to tolerate it, don't want to deal with it. I've had enough of
Hmm.
that shit. I want nothing to do with it. And
Right.
so it's easier to just bail out, safer maybe to bail out than like walk back into the jail cell you just got yourself out of.
Yeah. They really, really shy away from conflict because I think I mentioned earlier, they're very good at ignoring their feelings, but they're even
Yeah.
better at ignoring the feelings of their partner.
Mm.
So if I'm going to say to you, you know what, Davina, I enjoyed meeting you, but I just don't think we're right for each other. If I feel that you're going to have an emotional reaction, like, and
Mm-hmm.
you start saying to me, well, why? You didn't like me? Or maybe we just have a second
What did I
date and see how,
do?
what did I
Uh-huh.
do? Or am I not pretty enough for you? Or whatever it is,
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
insecurities, that's going to trigger them. So it's an avoidance. I'm just going to not say anything because I don't want to potentially deal with the emotional outburst.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll do a slow fade and hope they don't notice. And oftentimes, if you go, where have you been? They'll be like, oh, I'm busy. So there's no
Uh-huh.
one busier in this world than someone who's avoidant, because
Yeah.
really they just don't want to engage on the emotional front.
Well,
So,
and then they know this and then they come back around when the radar tells them that you've moved on, right? So
right.
how
Do you know why that is?
I because they're needing it, they're lonely and they want no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're totally
Okay.
on the mark.
Okay. You were shaking your head. I was like, oh
No, no,
no.
no. I'm going, yep, yep, yep.
Is
Because,
there a guarantee? I'm lonely, I need this attention, and you'll give it to me. And I can
right.
ghost you again, and then next time you'll come back anyway.
Couple of things. If you let
Okay.
someone in who's ghosted you, you've set the pace for what you'll accept and won't accept. So if you allow me in once, of course I'm going to think you'll allow me in a second, third, fourth time, right? If
You
you forgive
will.
me
Yeah.
once, so your own boundary. And again, anxiously attached people are not good with boundaries, so they're the ones who typically go, "Okay, I understand you're having a bad day." Right? They typically
Yep.
let you back in. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, People who are avoidantly attached are not great at communicating verbally. It's not necessarily a skill that they have because they didn't learn it. It doesn't mean they don't communicate, but you have to pay a little bit greater attention. They actually communicate with their body. They communicate with their behavior far more than verbal. So if you're having, let's say, an argument with them, they're likely to leave the room, slam the door. If you call them, they're likely to not pick up the phone. If you send them a text, they're likely to not answer for 3 days. They're communicating to you.
Yeah.
They're just not using the words. And as people, we need to be able to discern that level of body language and communication as well. So
Yeah.
what I teach couples in this anxious avoidance cycle is, communicate. If you, and this is the hardest thing for avoidance. If you need time to yourself, don't just get up and walk out of a room.
Mhm.
Say, this is too much for me right now. I'm going to go for a walk. Can we continue the conversation after dinner after I've had a little bit of time?
Yeah. And
And
then
that's,
anxious needs to let them, right? Like
yes.
I got into anger management in an attempt to fix my husband. He was Hulk smashing walls, punching shit like whenever we got into arguments, slamming doors,
Because
storming
he
out.
communicates through body language.
Yes. And so
Yes.
much energy. Right. And
Uh-huh.
so that would happen. And then he would try to leave and I'd be like, no, I'm not going to let you go. We're going to address this. We're going to sit down. Oh, what? You can't stay to address this? How, and just fucking taunt this man. And so I got into the work in an attempt to fix him. Didn't know what anger management was. Just knew that like this is what people do when they're punching stuff. And then was sitting in my training and was like, oh God, I'm the problem. I'm just such a big part of the problem. No wonder he's breaking down walls. I'm trapping him. I won't let him leave. And I'm crazy anxious and I'm enabling the drinking and I'm doing all of these things. What is that? And so I, of course, had my own work to do. Whereas now, if I'm more of the one to say, like, I'm too heated, I'm going to leave and I'll be back in 5 minutes. There's more of that where it's like, okay, go. When will you be back? Give me 10 minutes. I'm going to walk around the block. Great. Do you, I'll do me. And then we tend to, come back together. It's just taken such a long amount of time. And now because our kids were so affected, they were so young when everything happened. We are now, when we come back, as long as it's nothing that's like too grown up to talk about, we will bring our kids in and be like, hey, Papa and I got into an argument. I was feeling sad about this and he felt this. And we're gonna apologize and make repair. And like, do you guys want to watch? And so we give them the opportunity to see, like they hear certain arguments and tones and these types of things. And then afterward, I want them to see how we recover and what that looks like and sounds like, and then let it spark up again a little bit and then go back down again and find a way to mutually understand and mutually take accountability and do this. And so it's just, we're trying so hard to give that to our kids because we just had polar opposite upbringings. And it's taken us a really long time to figure out how to like blend them together in a way that makes sense.
I love what you're sharing with me, that how the two of you found a way to work through your dynamic. I don't care that it took you so long. You got
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Many people don't get there. You got there. And now you're also teaching your children that it's okay to fight and make repair. And here's how you make repair.
Yeah.
Right? You're not always going to have the same viewpoint as someone else, right? Mommy and daddy think differently, so we don't always agree. That's okay,
Yeah.
right? So what you're doing is beautiful work. And I will say, you kind of laughed and you said, oh no, I'm the problem. This is why he's punching the walls. And
Yeah.
you weren't the problem.
Contributing. Yes.
Contributing.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, no. I never took full spotlight. I was
Right.
just like,
Okay.
no, that's, you're
Like
problematic.
maybe exacerbating, right? Like yeah. So the feeling of being trapped is a big one. The expectation for them would be, again, I'm going to focus on my emotions, you're going to handle yours, you're not going to rely on me to soothe you. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to, invade my freedom. You're not going to take away my independence. This relationship, if it's meant to be, should just be easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
There shouldn't be conflict in our relationship. These are some of the unspoken expectations that someone who's avoidantly attached will have.
How do you differentiate between the avoidant and the disorganized?
Excellent question. Okay, good. And this is a good place to sort of round out the discussion.
Okay.
The disorganized attachers, that's the smallest cohort of people, right? So we talked about, let's say we're doing a 50-50 split. 50% of our population in North America is securely attached, and then we've got 50% insecurely. We can sort of generally say 20% is anxious, 20% are avoidant, and let's say 10% are fearful avoidant or disorganized. Now, that fearful avoidant category, really what they experience is they have the traits of both the anxious attacher and the avoidant attacher. And this is how I lived my life for many years. And it was confusing as hell for me
Yeah.
and for those around me, which means that my template was disorganized in a sense that I very much desired closeness, but I was also very afraid of vulnerability and intimacy. And so, in a romantic context, that's often illustrated as the hot and the cold partner. So, come here, and then, oh, wait, you're too close, push you away. We spend a day together. Now I need 3 days alone. Back and forth, back and forth. And this generally arises when a child is in a home that's very chaotic. Again, no stable frame. Oftentimes we see abuse, and it could be any kind of abuse. And the young child has a very hard time making sense out of the fact that they desire closeness from, let's say, a father, right? Let's say their father. They really desire closeness, comfort, safety that they get some of the time from the father, but in other moments of the time, in this example, the father's also harming them. It could be physical, verbal, emotional, it could be sexual, it could be all of the above. And so what happens is the child is drawn to the father for that safety, comfort, love, but is also petrified.
So the same person who brings me love also brings me danger.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so the mind doesn't know, the child's mind, right? The young child's mind doesn't know how to parse that out. This person is the one that I desire closeness from. They're also the person that I'm afraid of. So I'm going to get close, but not too close. I'm going to come in, I'm going to step out, right? And then that pattern is what carries forward. And so these people have a very hard time in relationships, very hard time. This is the most complex group because they carry core wounds from the anxious attacher and the avoidant attacher, which means they'll carry wounds like I will be abandoned, I'm unlikable, unlovable, I am bad. But then they'll also have wounds from the avoidant, which is like I am defective, right? Yeah, I am weak. Like there's things there that they will carry also. I will lose my freedom, like I will be enveloped, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard one. And when we talk about
Gnarly.
trust, this is the last point that I'll bring up. I think it'll hit home for you. Trust is a really, really important thing that comes out of attachment styles. When we look at the anxious attacher generally does not have trust in themselves, but affords trust to everyone else.
Yes.